You should use the stage. Do you need help, Joplin?
Keep it going for all the comments you already saw.
You guys have a good time tonight?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a redundant question when everybody's smoking weed. Something happened recently that I never thought would happen in my lifetime. And that's fast food French fries made me shit my pants. Taco Bell stepped its game up, that's all. And I thought Evan had all the shit pants jokes, but I had one. I have 3 daughters. The oldest goes to Wichita State, and then I have 2 twins that are 11, which means God hates me. When they were younger, the first time they stayed the night at my house, I woke up at 3 in the morning to get some water, and they were standing at the end of the hallway, holding hands, looking at nothing. I was like, well, I'm never walked in The Shining again. My wife at the time, when I got back in the bed, she says, what took you so long? And I told her what happened. She goes, why didn't you take them to bed? I said, well, I figured whatever they were staring, I could take the little asses to bed, so I'm good. I'm going to eat them out of the house. During the holidays, I started getting the feeling that maybe I've let them down. Like I haven't been a good enough parent myself. And their mom's to blame a little bit too. But yeah, and I have already started feeling that because like a year ago they did an essay for school and they both chose what they wanted to be when they grow up, and it was a TikTok star. And I figured I still had enough time to sort of lead them toward the stripper pole. It's a lot more respectable, going to be around a lot longer. But during the holidays, I think it finally hit the tipping point. They wanted Kim Kardashian's new perfume for Christmas. And I was shocked because I didn't know that herpes had a scent. But apparently it does. $69.99 at Dillard's. Something happened 2 weeks ago, and this isn't true. This is the first time I've told this to anybody outside of the family, but I figured, hey, why not? Y'all wouldn't remember anyway. So they're in the same classroom. It's a classroom of like 28 kids. They're both in 5th grade, I think, 6th grade. Like I said, I failed it. But so their history coach was like, hey, you guys want to do a play based on Abraham Lincoln? And some of the kids were like, yeah, and then the other kids were like, no, we don't like talking in front of people. One of them was being the other twin, we'll call her Addie. She wanted to be a door. She doesn't like talking, but my other daughter was like, no, I want to be John Wilkes Booth. I was like, well, that's a little disturbing. And so I asked their mom, I said, well, what was the play about? Was it about the life of Abraham Lincoln? They said, no, it's about the night he got shot. And I was like, who in their right goddamn mind does a play for 5th graders 2 weeks before the inauguration about the death of a president? So she was excited. She couldn't wait. And it's still amazing knowing this happened. So their brother, who isn't my kid, their brother is going to college with theater major, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently it is. And so he was excited to know that one of his daughter's sisters, one of his sisters wanted to, be really involved like he is. So he sort of took her under his wing for a week and had her rehearsing her lines and getting the behavior right. And so one night, it was 2 nights before the actual play. One night, he was live on Instagram, and then she asked to rehearse, and for some weird reason, he kept the Instagram live going. And sometime during the rehearsal, he decided to go to the bathroom, and it was one of those high school long bathroom trips for a boy. And so my daughter is dancing around with a fake gun, saying over and over, "I can't wait to kill the president." Over and fucking over. 30 minutes go by, and 11 Owasso PD cars show up at their mom's house. Apparently a lot of people reported that shit. You can't say that. Everybody I've told on the phone the story, I always say, she said she wanted to K the P, and they're like, what the fuck does that mean? I said, that means I'm not going to jail. That's what that means. So the cops, they were very cool about it. They talked to her. They were like, you know, you can't say that. But they questioned everybody. Their stepdad, who I can't stand that son of a bitch, he got questioned for like 45 minutes. And I was like, there was something good that came out of it after all. But I feel that Trump's going to have to pardon her. So, I mean, she's probably on the list. So, I turned 50 last year. And I didn't think I was ever going to make it that long. And the biggest thing that happened for me last year was June 1st of last year, I hit 6 years opiate free. And I won't hit 7 because I took this damn show and I'm a whore for comedy. So, but the reason why I won't hit 7 is a whole different story. But anyway, during that time, like, many times I thought I wasn't going to make it. You know, I was killing myself physically. And I was proud to get to that. I know 6 years was a weird number, but I didn't think I'd make it past 1. And 2 things during that time, I'm actually working on a book, but 2 things during that time stand out as the craziest and the funniest moment. Obviously, if you've ever been down that road, you know, you go, especially for recovery, you go to NA meetings and stuff like that. And it was like my first NA meeting when I moved to San Diego, and there was a girl, a woman, it was her first time there. And she's given me permission to say this, so I don't want you to think that I'm, you know, fucking up her privacy. But she introduced herself. She was like, "Hi, my name is Elsa. I am an addict." Everybody said, you know, "Welcome, Elsa." And she said, "Up until 6 years ago, I had never touched a drop of alcohol or a pill in my life. And then that fucking movie Frozen came out, and I teach first grade. Everybody after that meeting was like, you know, we wouldn't even blame you if you kept doing it. Like, that's a good excuse." The other thing, first 28-day later place I went to was in Cushing, Oklahoma. And when you get a roommate, it's basically like it was when I was in the military. Instead of a combat buddy, it's a reliability buddy. It's like, make sure this guy, you know, doesn't relapse, or if they're having a tough time, you're there for them. Now, I figured I was going to get an addict or an alcoholic because that's the only addicts I had met at that point. And then they come and they tell me, like, hey, you're going to have a roommate tomorrow. You know, this is his first time. You got to be really careful with him. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I was like, well, what's his drug of choice? And they said, running. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, he's addicted to runner's high. And I said, that's not a thing. Like, that's bullshit. And they're like, no, it's true. So I didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way. So the guy shows up, a really nice guy, and I asked him, I was like, man, are you really addicted to running, or is that some bullshit? He was like, no, I'm addicted to the adrenaline I get from runner's high. I was like, okay, you know, each their own. I figured I wasn't going to take away from his experience. So a couple of days go by, and he disappears once or twice, and they bring him back, and he's dripping in sweat. And they're like, hey, you have to hold him accountable, and you have to. I said, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can understand if somebody wants to get a pill, I can talk him out of it, or get a drink. I was like, but I'm like 400 fucking pounds. If he wants to run at 3 in the morning, I'm going to let him run. You shouldn't have put Forrest Gump in my fucking room. I said, I'll break his leg, and I'll do that. And on the first visitation that we had, I'll never forget this, his dad and mom show up, and you can tell he came for money, which I feel that a runner's high addiction sort of fits that. And he's crying to his dad. He's like, I'm so sorry that, you know, I stole your credit card and bought 10 pairs of New Balances. I was like, Jesus Christ. Fast forward about 2 weeks later, and he finally was at a point where he can go to an NA meeting off campus. And I was like, are you sure that's a good idea? And they were like, why? I was like, the NA meeting we're going to tonight, there are some hardcore addicts. They tell stories of selling their children and blowing people for crack. If this guy talks about stealing his dad's credit card for running shoes, they're going to beat the shit out of him for being there. And they did. He got kicked out. So, that's the end of the joke. I told him to get him out of my fucking room. So, but there's something that's probably going to shock you. I watch porn. Surprise. Recently, I hadn't watched it in a while. I've had a lot of personal stuff going on. And so I got on my laptop and I dimmed the lights and got some lotion out. And it was like date night for Billy. I made my dog leave the room because it's weird watching me. And I went to Pornhub. This was before it got yanked out of Oklahoma's hands. I went to Pornhub and I did something you should never, ever, ever, ever do on a porn site. Is I did a random search. And you should never do that. Because whoever created the algorithms for this site had a fucked up sense of humor. And it shows for me a scene from like this past year. Like one of the new scenes. And those scenes are creepy because everybody shaves everywhere. And I don't know if they do it for aerodynamic sake. But I couldn't focus on the problem at hand. I'm like, is this some shitty porn remake of that movie Powder from the 90s? Like, I don't know what's going on. So I did another random search because I didn't learn the first time. And this time it was a video from the 70s. Shit I grew up watching. But then I realized something. Guess what nobody did back then? Shave anywhere. I went from hardwood floors to shag carpet in 10 minutes. It was like everybody's crotches joined Al-Qaeda and went into hiding. Basically what I'm telling you is watching porn from the 70s is like watching a close-up of the cast of Duck Dynasty eat hot dogs. Really slow. You're welcome. You're going to hate me the next time you have a hot dog put in front of you. You're going to find me on social media like, man, I can't eat hot dogs no more because I keep thinking of Uncle Si. Piece of shit. Also, something I hid for a long time, but about 10 years ago, it felt like it was safe to admit this, but I have a foot fetish. Not one of those weird foot fetishes where I watch foot porn, but I appreciate a manicured foot. I don't take it too serious, like if somebody I'm with is into it, blah, blah, blah. But about 2 years ago, shit changed. We had to go back into hiding again because the rapey feet goblins started coming out and ruining it for everybody. I'll give you, for instance, one of my very good friends, her father died, and she did one of those reels of like 25 pictures. And about picture number 11, you can tell she had got tired that day, and she was holding her shoes in her hand, her flats, and the camera had panned out, and you could barely see the arch of her foot. And some fucking weirdo posted like 300 comments going, man, let me see them toes. How much to buy them shoes? Just creepy shit. And then she blocked me, so I can't get those shoes. A little misdirection for you. Sorry, it's making me fair. I was like, Parker had told me, it's gonna happen, you're gonna get high. And I felt like I was like juking the smoke, and it hit me right when I got on stage. Yay me. I realized that I defeated the song Mambo Number 5. And I'll explain to you what I mean. I have married or been engaged to every name in that goddamn song. Which, it's not a big deal. There's only 6 names, but it's also depressing when you think about it. And now, I'm going to pick a new song, and I think I'm going to go with hoes in different area codes. I feel I got enough time to knock that off my list. Speaking of music, many, many, many years ago, I was in the United States Navy. And when I was stationed out in San Diego, they had a program going on that if you wore your uniform to stuff like the zoo, to Charger and Padre games, which they were giving tickets away at that point, but also concerts, if you wore your uniform into the actual event, you could change, but you had to wear, it was basically a PR move to let everybody know that San Diego loved the troops. And we took full advantage of it. We were all, most of us were in our early 20s. So I got to see a lot of really cool concerts. But something happened around the middle of '95 that legitimately changed my life forever. It kept me from seeing a concert for almost 20 years. And I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm going to warn you, it gets a little dark, little misdirection, kind of like the boat ride from the Willy Wonka movie. But a fat kid doesn't die in chocolate at the end. So in 1994, I went to a rodeo in La Jolla, California. At that rodeo, the headliner that day wasn't bull riding, it was a young Latina singer named Selena. And I was smitten with her. I was going to learn Spanish and woo her. But that's not how life works, obviously. And about a month after I saw Selena in concert, somebody on my ship was like, hey man, you remember that girl we went to go see? She was shot and killed by her not tour manager, but fan club manager. And I was like, well, that's going to be awkward in my dreams, but damn, that sucks. A year later, before I left to come home on leave, around my birthday, some of my friends from the ship got me tickets to go see a band named Sublime. One of the greatest bands I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if you guys are familiar with their music, but they were really ahead of their time. The lead singer, Bradley Knowles, died of an overdose 1 week after I saw them perform. And I thought, holy shit, you're killing music. I did not see another concert for over 20 years. I would win concert tickets. That's how cruel fate is. I would win concert tickets all the time. You guys remember calling in? I would call in and be the 10th caller like 4 times in a row. But I was like, I'm not taking these tickets. I'm not going to kill the Foo Fighters, so you can have them. And all that went down and all that happened. And my current wife, that's getting ready to be ex-wife number 4, when we first met, she told me, she said, hey, I love supporting live music, and I'm not going to be with somebody who believes in that, voodoo bullshit. You're not the one killing music, you need to grow up. But I was still scared, I still doubted, I was skeptical. But I will say, since we've been together, we've been together for almost 5 years, and we've actually seen multiple concerts. But what she doesn't know is I did a little experiment before we bought our first concert ticket, just to be sure that it wasn't me. And that experiment was, I bought tickets to see Justin Bieber 12 fucking times that year, and that little dickhead's still walking the planet. So I tried, people. I really, really tried. There's a side note to that story, and that is, right after we started seeing tickets, her niece is a big Justin Bieber. Big Justin believer, is that what they call him? Believer? Dumbest fucking name for fans. But she's on a live that he's doing one day out of Arizona or New Mexico, and apparently Justin Bieber had went missing. And I was like, uh-oh. Maybe I saw him too many times. Maybe he's going to have a delayed reaction. So I was glued to the screen like she was. Apparently what had happened was their bus had broke down on the way to a show in New Mexico, and the bodyguards, he was like, hey, I want to go and have a spiritual journey in the desert, and this bodyguards weighed like 600 pounds. They're like, you can go by yourself, like, well, we're not going with you. And that's what he did, and he didn't come back for like 4 hours, and then I guess the manager called, they started freaking out. But then the next thing you know, he went live on his phone. I was sadly disappointed. Apparently what had happened is he came across an abandoned church, and he came across a preacher, and one look at this preacher and you knew that he was also a cook, if you know what I mean. And he said, I'm letting all my believers know that I made it okay. It was a false alarm. I found God, so I'll be okay. I'll make my show. And that was the day I stopped believing in God, because that man of the Lord could have done the Lord's work and drowned his ass, but he didn't do it. If you haven't caught on yet, I hate Justin Bieber. When I turned 50, my 50th birthday party, we'll just say I had a birthday party for the joke. My nephew asked me, he was like, "Do you have any words of wisdom, old man?" I was like, "Actually, yeah, I do. Don't stick your dick in crazy. That's the best word of advice I could give you." And I said, "I'll give you a quick story of why you should listen to that. If you date a woman and she happens to have a whole bunch of stuffed animals on her bed, at some point in the relationship, she's going to hit you with a car." That's a true story. Thankfully, the woman had a little small Kia, so it just sort of clipped me. And then I revved it back and was like, "Get out of here, crazy bitch," and just threw it back down there. I will say this though, once I had daughters, I realized that this is actually the first time I told that joke on stage in a while, because it's messed up, because I realize when I tell people that, I'm the common denominator. So I tell my daughter, my oldest daughter, I was like, "Hey, don't let crazy stick its dick in you. You can ask your mama about that." I really, something bothers me online when people say, like they make a video and it'll just be their opinion, and they'll say, "You know, McDonald's has the best French fries, and I'll die on that hill." No, you won't. You won't die on that hill. Even the most strongest opinions I have, I might let you give me a wedgie on an anthill, but I'm not dying. You know. And now I've commented, I'm like, "What's your address? We'll test that theory." And I guess they're not going to die on that hill after all. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to one last joke for you. You guys have been awesome. There was something I didn't want to say this in the beginning because I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. This is the first time I've been on stage since I was diagnosed with cancer.
Woo!
Thank you, one person. But I didn't want to say in the beginning because I wanted to get sympathy laughs, and I probably should have because there was some fucking silence, so I apologize if I wasn't funny. It's the cancer. I'm going to leave on this joke. I travel a lot for comedy, or did, but I've also been traveling. Me and my wife are trying to do a long-distance relationship for the last 3 years. It almost didn't work because she wanted a poly relationship, and I tried to get through it, and I tried to get through it, and it just doesn't work for me. And a lot of my friends were like, "Man, you shouldn't have even done it." I was like, "What you don't know is that's not my first poly relationship. It's just the first one I knew about." But when I do travel, I have a shit ton of holiday endpoints that I still haven't used yet, and it's been like 10 years. So I used to stay at a Holiday Inn. Well, apparently, recently, they've started locking up the shampoo, the conditioner, and the body wash in a little cage like they put the Rangers up at the drugstores. And I was like, who's stealing miniature bottles? Like, how broke are you? Because now they're putting big bottles in there. I don't know if anybody's seen this, but it's a true thing. And so I got into the shower, and I did the order. I did the shampoo. Shampoo came out perfect, no problem. Washed my hair. And I did the conditioner. That came out no problem. Conditioned my hair. And then I went for the body wash. And I guess there was some dry, and it changed the trajectory of the body wash. And instead of going in my hand, it hit me right in the fucking eye. So ladies, I get it. That shit sucks. My name is Billy Lazar. Thank you guys so much. Give it up for Parker Rose for hosting the show.